What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Anthony O'Neill. Welcome back to the table. And you guys already know, here we have a real, relatable, and
relevant
conversation. And y'all, today I'm so pumped because I have an incredible speaker, producer, and an influencer of influencers. The one and only Pastor Toure Roberts is in the building. He leads one of the largest, most influential churches and empowerment congregations in the world called the Potter's House at 1LA, formerly known as Church LA. He is the author of Purpose Awakening. Another book he wrote is Wholeness, Winning in Life from the Inside Out, which was a #1 national bestseller. But Toure's highest honor is being a husband and best friend to his incredible wife and partner in everything he does. The author, businesswoman, producer, pastor, and one of the top woman influentials people in the world, Sarah Jakes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the table, Pastor Toure. Man, PT. Now, let me say this because a lot of people who are watching this don't know you by PT, so let me say the correct way. Pastor Toure, how are you doing, sir? Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm doing well. I'm hanging in there, trying to make something of these crazy times.
Yeah. Speaking of crazy times, let's have a conversation about that. You are one of the most crucial voices in our world right now. I'm curious to know, with this pandemic that's been happening over the last few months, from the racial issues that this country is still battling, what are you saying to people right now to bring hope, to bring peace, to bring understanding to everything that's going on right now?
Yeah, I think that we have to understand the process of change.
Yeah.
And we have a phenomenal country. I think America is a great country. But we also have some tragic history, and some of that history is still playing itself out today, as some of the recent events have underscored. And so there has been a need for a rebuilding of sorts. And the reason why I'm optimistic in this whole thing is that in order to get to the rebuilding, we have to have a revealing and then move to a phase of healing in order to get to rebuilding. And so the challenging part is the revealing part, because the revealing part, similar to, I like to use the analogy of a pimple. And all of us, we don't like pimples. We hate pimples, right? Pimples are the worst thing that can happen, particularly, if you're like me. It happens when I got to record something or shoot something. It takes some headshots or whatever. The pimple comes, and you think that something bad is happening to you, but in all actuality, the beginning of something good is happening, because the pimple emerges to deal with an undetected impurity.
Wow.
And so I think that that's kind of what's happening with us. There's a revealing, the pimples are revealing, but there's going to be a healing. And once we get to this healing, we can start rebuilding. And I think that America will be better than it's ever been.
I love that. When you think about healing, what's the role that millennials, that 18 to 34, 35, what can we do to help that process of healing?
Absolutely. Well, I think that millennials are blessed with incredible inherent skills like innovation. They are very passionate. I say I'm outside of it for about 7 years outside of being a millennial. I'm close enough to it to get it a little bit, but outside of it in the Gen X. But I think that millennials are strong. I think that they're passionate. I think that they're innovative, which means that any good message is going to echo exponentially because of the millennial influence. And so I think I would say to use all of those gifts, all of those tools, that passion, that innovation, but to do it with wisdom. So in other words, be learning. We've this is the information age, so knowledge is everywhere. But I think that you can be super passionate, but not have the right wisdom or the right insight or have the right voices, a multitude of voices to shape the direction in which you channel your passion. Yeah. So I would say keep doing what you're doing, keep being loud, keep being intentional, but don't forget to be open to listening to voices, particularly older voices, because I think that when the two come together, the old and the young, great things happen.
And that's wise. I've had several phone call conversations with you, and I'm happy that you're not in the millennial age, because I look up to you, and your wisdom is by far ahead of me. And every time I do listen to you, when we talk on the phone or when I'm just watching you online preaching and teaching, you're right. I listen to you, and I just combine my understanding and my energy with your teaching, and I'm just a better individual. So I definitely agree that we as millennials have to, I even say, submit ourselves to someone older that can just guide us and give us wisdom. So Thank you for saying that. I want to talk about, you have a new book coming out later this year, and I definitely want to get to that. But you wrote a book that changed my life called Purpose. And this age bracket of young people are always asking me, Anthony, how do I find my purpose? I get Anthony, you want me to get out of debt. You want me to, have a savings account. You want me to build wealth. But before I can do all that, I got to know who I am. I have to know, why am I here? How do I find my purpose? I have an answer, but I'm curious. You're the expert in this area. What would you say to that young person or anybody watching right now? What is purpose, and how do they find their purpose?
For sure. Well, I would tell them, first of all, to be patient. Because one of the things that I'm learning about purpose is that purpose is not necessarily a destination that you hit. You reach it one time and that's it. Purpose is an unfolding. It's an unfolding of things, and it continues to progressively unfold. For me, I would define purpose as, the reason why you're here. I believe that everything is here intentionally, including you and I. And there's certain things that you were born with. There's certain things that you have learned. There's certain things that have moved you in life that you cannot shake. Certain problems that need to be solved, and these particular problems disturb you to no end. And so I believe purpose is that thing. It's being in alignment with that thing that you have been graced from above to do, and to do well. But to a young person, I get it, because, the millennial generation, the young generation, is a very passionate generation. And, and we want to do something, and we don't want to do it tomorrow. We don't want to do it next week. By golly, we want to do it now. And I get it. But you have to be patient with yourself, because you are becoming various levels of you. And so the you that you are today is not going to be entirely the same you that you are in 5 years. And so that which is in front of you, do it, and do it with all your might. But just know that your perspective is going to change, your resources are going to change, your tools are going to change, and be open for there to be some variance in ultimately what you call your purpose.
I'm going to be honest with you on my end. I'm single, and I've been single for a while. I was engaged about 6-7 years ago, got out of the engagement, and someone told me that you'll never really find your purpose until you're married. And that threw me. And I was like, so I have to be married to understand my purpose in life? And I got emotional because it came from a very well-known pastor. We won't say this pastor's name, but I was bothered. I was bothered by that. I'm curious, because I trust your voice in this space. Is that right? I mean, do you have to wait to be married to really find and identify your purpose?
Yeah, I categorically disagree with that, because in that is to say that being married is your purpose.
Ooh.
If you don't find your purpose until you get married, that means that part of your purpose is to be married, and that's not true. Because it also suggests that you are not complete unless you are married. So Purpose Awakening was my first book. My second book was called Wholeness.
Yeah.
And in Wholeness, I have a chapter called Two Halves Don't Make a Whole. And the ideal is the ideal relationship, and if that evolves into a marriage, we can throw the marriage in there, is not two whole people seeking for purpose, coming together and trying to figure out what their purpose is. Two half people, I should say. Two incomplete people trying to figure out. That's not, no. It is two people that have come to a place of self-realization. So succinctly, it doesn't mean that you have all the answers.
Right.
But you do know enough about yourself, watch this, to be fair to the other person, because how can you offer yourself to another person for a lifetime if you don't even know what you're giving them? That's not fair. Like you don't even know what you're selling me. If you're gonna sell me something, come on now. At least what salesperson sells a car and doesn't know what the car is they're selling, or whatever it is? What real estate agent sells a house without being able to say, oh, and this is what you're getting? So I think that I do completely disagree with that notion. Not everyone. Marriage is a wonderful thing, but not everyone's going to be married. And so, no, I completely agree. I think that purpose is an individual thing. And in fact, you can't choose your mate entirely until you have at least the parameters of your purpose.
man, I don't want to throw you off on this one, but you're an expert. You're used to this. I'm curious because I'm single. So talk to me. Don't talk to the people watching right now. Talk to me. Does God make one specific person for another specific person? So was Sarah Jakes designed specifically for Toure Roberts? Like, am I designed specifically for whoever I marry? Or is it my choice and God blesses it? I get into arguments with singles about this. So I want to ask you this question before we move on to the next segment, because I really want to get there. But I had to ask because I need you to talk to me, not to y'all watching. This is just for me, because I'm ready to find my wife. But I get the mixed teachings of, well, God already made her for you. You just got to find her. Or you just got to find the right one and God will bless it. Like, what is it? What's the answer?
Yeah, well, obviously it'll vary based on who you speak to,
Yeah.
which is what you're describing right now. But I do think that, there's a passage that says, what God has joined together, let not man put asunder.
Okay.
And the notion is that's basically, it's been used to discuss divorce and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it does suggest that God places two people together, that it's in his providence to do it.
Okay.
And so I believe, so you asked the question more specifically to my bride, Sarah.
Yeah.
There is no doubt in my mind that we were created to love each other. Because I've never in my life experienced a connection and beyond connection, a synergy of purpose and identity and calling, the evidence of which is evident every day in what we've been able to accomplish together, not only through ministry, but just through the dynamic of our marriage.
Yeah.
And so, I did this teaching. It's got almost 6 million views on YouTube right now, called 5 Keys to Identifying Your Soulmate. Okay. And so I do believe that God can orchestrate relationships. Could God orchestrate a relationship that ultimately, maybe the person passes away, or something takes place, and maybe there is a person later on, perhaps. I'm not sure that it's one person finally forever, because life happens. Again, someone can get sick and die, things can transpire. But I do know that the best relationships are the relationships that have been divinely orchestrated.
You spoke. I listen. So I got to change my prayer. I mean, that's a personal conviction, because, I was thinking something different, just to be honest with you, PT. So I got to change my prayer and say, God, you do it, and I'm going to step aside. I'm just going to just walk in my purpose, and you do it. And if it's you, my prayer is that she's beautiful. She has to look good, PT.
I'm going to give you this little quick tidbit.
Yeah.
When Sarah and I found each other, we had both recently made the commitment that we were no longer going to date just randomly, that we were going to essentially date ourselves and just spend time with ourselves and the Lord. And whatever would show up in the context of that spiritual connection with God would be from God. And that's exactly what happened. We weren't looking. When I first met her, we weren't even attracted to each other in that way. She was attractive, of course. And, I don't think I'm too bad on the eyes myself, but we didn't have, come on, man.
Hey, man, listen, I think I'm good looking. You can be calm about yourself, but I look good.
Come on. There it is. Right. You were a catch. But what's funny is we didn't even connect there initially.
Wow.
We connected spiritually and felt there was some spiritual chemistry that was happening. Yeah. And it would be a month later before we those feelings became something more on the romantic side. Man,
listen. Y'all, if you just now tuned in, you are tuned into The Table. And this is where we have a real, relatable, and...
Man, I messed that up last time. Relevant. I'm so into this conversation. You guys had me cracking up when you're talking about how good you guys look. It's so funny.
Man, listen. We're ready.
I say we leave it in. I love it. I'm not cutting that out. Relevant.
Okay, bro, you the producer, brother.
You're doing great.
Yeah, all right. And man, I have my mentor, one of the most influential people in this world, on the call with me today, Pastor Toure. I call him PT. A lot of his members and people who know him call him PT. And he just pretty much checked me, and I got to change that. I got to change the way I'm thinking and praying about things. So I like that. Maybe I need to stop dating myself and say, I'm going to date myself. I'm going to stop dating people and just date myself. But that's hard. I ain't going to sit here and lie. That's not easy.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's a space for a connection with God, enjoying discovering who you are, being confident that everything that is for you is already out there, and it's just going to take the best version of you becoming the best version of you to attract it.
Yeah.
That's peace. So in other words, hey, my spouse is there already. Yeah. My next business opportunity is there already. Yeah. My next upgrade, that's already there. So all I have to do is come into alignment with the highest version of myself, because the highest version of myself will attract the best that God has for me.
This is why I wanted you on the show, PT. Because you talk to me and to everyone, and I love that. You have a brand new book coming out, and this is something that I believe a lot of people will be blessed by. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be called Balance: Tipping the Scales, Leveraging Change, and Having It All. And I think that's going to be releasing this fall. Give my audience a little sneak peek into this book. What are you talking about? What will we learn when we get this in the fall?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there is a higher overarching thing about this book, and then it breaks it down to the details. So balance, as most people know it, it's work-life balance. Yeah. Has to do with how much time you spend at home with your kids, all that sort of thing. And it will touch on that, but it's actually a very bigger picture. Yeah. I referenced becoming the highest version of yourself. And in my language, that's called alignment. Alignment is when the you that is walking out your life on earth connects to the you that was formed, that was thought of before you even placed in your mother's womb. When you begin to, from a place of purpose, begin to live in that reality, you're going to be able to have it all. Now, the way that happens is through a series of change. And what I want to do in Balance is I want to begin to normalize change, because change freaks people out. But the reality of it is, in order to become who you're called and predestined to be, and ultimately have all that you are predestined to have, it necessitates change. The pandemic is a perfect example, right? Which is kind of interesting. My book is coming out in, slightly post-pandemic, prayerfully, right? Yeah. But it's about change. If you're honest, and correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me if you agree with this. Yeah. When the pandemic first hit, we were freaked out. There was a lot of anxiety. What's going on? Am I going to live? Am I going to contract COVID-19 and pass away? Yep. Are my loved ones safe? Can I travel? Is my business going to work? Right. All these sort of things. And obviously, some have taken a toll from a business perspective. But about a month in it, we begin to say, you know what? This negative thing is happening. But at the same time, I'm a lot more centered. Come on, man. Things that I placed a high value on, I found out weren't worth the value that I was placing it on. And things that I placed lower value on, I realized were more valuable. And all of a sudden, I'm becoming a better version of myself that I couldn't have got to without this change. Come on. And so change is your friend. And I think that, even if you look at the creation of the universe, everything right now is spinning. Yeah. The reason why there is, a sunset in the morning, a sunrise in the morning, and sunset at night, and even the oceans, the waves come and then they go back out and they come in the shore. So there is a rhythm. Your heart is constantly beating. So you're constantly growing. Look, I got these grades. I didn't have these grades like this 5 years ago. So the one constant in life is change. Yeah. And sometimes we're even when we pray, we're praying for something to change, but somehow we become allergic to change.
Yeah.
And so balance normalizes change and talks about how you can leverage change in order to get everything that life has for you.
Man, you speaking, because you are absolutely right. When COVID first started, I remember we were in New York doing some media, and I was scared. I was like, what in the world is about to happen? Then a month in, I'm like, man, I have a lot more energy. I'm not on the road every week. I'm not traveling. I feel like centered, like you said. I feel like I can go and conquer the world. And I'm gonna be honest, I made the most money I've ever made last month because I'm sitting at home being focused. And in the beginning, I was like, I'm not gonna make a lot of money. I'm not gonna make money. But last month, I'm like, well, wait a minute. So I learned I don't have to be on the road every single week to reach people, to make money. I can actually be at home, use technology, be in my word more, study more, and I can still be not just as effective, but a little bit more effective because of the new change, because of the new norm.
Absolutely.
Man,
and see, so when change happens, there's two things that you can do. You can either let the change freak you out, stress you out, and cause you to crawl up under a table somewhere.
Yeah.
Or you can say, wait, change is supposed to work in my favor. I'm going to leverage that change, right?
Wow.
I'm going to be like a surfer. I'm going to ride that wave. I'm not going to be intimidated by the wave. I'm not going to let the wave wipe me out. I'm going to position myself to ride it. That's leveraging change to, okay, where is the blessing in this unexpected change? Because in every unexpected change, somewhere there is a blessing. Life itself is balanced in that way.
Would you say that's the first question when you're presented with something that looks like a huge change, is to, instead of to talk negative about the change, to step back and ask yourself, okay, how do I benefit from this? What is the positive that I can get from this? What is the second thing? So once we find that positive, what should we do? And I don't want to talk about all your book, because we're going to get your book, and I'm going to make sure that, we have them back on when it's available, and we're going to get this, because Pastor Toure, I'm teaching my audience, my tribe. We're reading one book a month, and we're listening to one podcast every single week. So when your book comes out, this is going to be the book of the month that we read, because we need to get this information. So after we identify the change and we see the positive, what are some of the mindsets that we should be having to really be effective and not really be negative during the season?
Absolutely. Well, you said it. You have to, because the negativity is going to creep in. Because remember, change is new, and new is not normal. Mm-hmm. And we're in this rhythm of the old. And so again, our mind is going to want to try to drift back to saying something is wrong or this is bad. So we're going to have to be intentional to be aware of our thoughts and to make certain that those thoughts are serving us and not discouraging us. And then from there, it's about innovation. So now, because of this change, that means that my creativity has to be unlocked. I can't be discouraged because of the absence of what was once there. I can't be discouraged by that. I have to be motivated by the fact that I have creative ability. I am creative, right? I was created to be creative. And so I have to learn to get excited about imagining what could be. My curiosity has to kick in. Yeah. Right? I have to be so curious. See, curiosity is fun. If you would allow, if you don't allow change to cripple you, then you can allow curiosity to catapult you, right? Because curiosity is fun. Oh, because it's a blank canvas. Don't think about what can't be. Think about, wow, what could be?
Come on, man.
Where are my limits really? I have perceived potential and I have actual potential. I have perceived reality. I have perceived opportunities, and then I have the reality of my opportunities. So I have to keep pushing the mark so that I can find where my true boundaries are. And I won't do that unless I am curious.
Listen, you guys, this is why I have Pastor Toure on the show. I am going to make sure to link his Instagram, his website below. This is what I want you to do. I'm going to link his book, his first book, Purpose. I'm going to link that below. I want you to go buy that book today, and I want you to read this book next month. Okay. Also, I'm going to also link to his YouTube video, 5 Keys to Identify Your Soulmate. I want you to go check that out on your free time. And then also just follow what he and his amazing wife, Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts, are doing there in the beautiful city of L.A., there at the Potter's House 1 L.A., because this couple is changing the game. I've known Sarah for years, and I met Pastor Toure a few years back, and these two have just changed my life. So again, I want you to go follow him right now. His wisdom is just amazing. I'm not going to name drop people, but some of the most influential entertainers seek wisdom and counsel from this man. And so I'm telling you right now to please go follow him. And Pastor Toure, thank you so much for this time. I wish I had an hour show, because I could talk to you about money. I could talk to you about purpose, about balance, about what's going on in the world. But I want to give you 2 minutes as we end our time together. Whatever's on your heart, I want you to encourage that young person. I keep saying young. I'm sorry, y'all. I want you to encourage the person watching this video right now. 1 minute, 2 minutes. What's on your heart? What would you like to share?
Well, I want to underscore a statement that I made earlier, and that is these unprecedented times are filled with unprecedented opportunities. I believe that our country and our whole world is in the midst of a shift. And I believe that if you're alive and you're in it, you're a part of the shift. And there may be some who are listening, some who are watching, and you have been in the background. You have been last, or you felt last. And there's even a passage that says the last shall be first. I believe that there is a reckoning that is taking place right now. And I believe that if you remain positive, and if you remain hopeful, and if you remain curious, you're going to come out of this time, of this season, of this era, of this year, so far beyond in every significant way where you thought you would be that your head is going to spin. So just know that awesome times in the midst of the pain, I'm not being insensitive, in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the tears, in the midst of the stress, if you can keep your head on right, you're going to come out in an unprecedented way.
Yes, sir. I needed that myself. Man, thank you so much for coming on to the show, sir. And we're going to definitely have you back on when your book releases, so we can really do a deep dive into that and help make that a #1 national bestseller, New York Times bestseller, because you've been a blessing to my life. So I got to support anything you and Pastor Sarah are doing. So thank you so much for giving us wisdom on the show today. Thank you, Anthony. Much love, always. Yes, sir. I feel good. I really do feel good. But I'm really excited because what's coming up next is actually pretty dope. And so what I wanted to do is make sure that on every single show, as much as possible, we can answer a money question, because I want to make sure, as we're talking about things around the money and millennial and relationship space, I want to make sure that I'm still helping you accomplish your financial goals. So today, I'm pretty pumped because now we have this new segment called Zoom In. That's right. You just zoom on in, you jump on Zoom, you ask me a question, and we have a conversation. You have 5 minutes. And so if you want to call into the show, be a part of this Zoom In, I want you to email us at askao@ramseysolutions.com. I'm going to put that email address below so that way you can have it. But I really want to help you. Anything in life. I don't care what's going on. And today, we're going to have a conversation with Brian. His question is actually pretty unique. And so I'm looking forward to this. So let's zoom on in. What's going on, Brian? I heard you got a good question, man. So what's your question?
Yeah, man. So my fiance and I have been together 5 years and engaged for 4.
Congrats, man. When's the wedding?
Well, that's the question. So we about 2 years in, we're looking at getting married.
Okay.
Did taxes, looked at everything else, and it's going to be about $15,000 a year different in terms of our annual pay, because she's got 2 kids from a previous marriage that didn't work out.
So when you say... I'm sorry. When you say $15,000 difference, as in you all will lose $15,000
exactly
of income. Is this because of like alimony, child support, anything like that?
Taxes and work benefits for her.
Taxes and work benefits. All right, so not necessarily actual pay, but you all would end up having to pay more taxes, and you will lose some work benefits. Okay, cool. Go ahead. Oh, I'm just following. I'm following.
Cool. So my question is, hey, we've been holding off. We've had a religious ceremony with both of our families involved.
Okay.
And we've just been holding off filing paperwork because that seems like a huge chunk of change. So,
are you guys living together right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Living together right now. You guys have your own house.
Yep.
Been together for 5 years, engaged for 4.
Yeah.
And the only reason why you guys are not legally married is because you're trying to save the $15,000 in benefits and taxes.
Yeah, and for the kids and everything else, that seemed like the right call.
It's not the right call.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's why. I get exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to save money so that way you all can provide a healthy life for not just you two, but also for the kids. And I commend you, B, for thinking about her kids, who are not your kids. I commend you for that. But here's the spiritual side. The Bible wants us to obey the laws of the land. And so legally, you're not married, which means spiritually, you're not married as well. So God honors your heart. He honors your love. But in his eyes, yes, when you combine the two, legally, do the paperwork and have the spiritual ceremony. And the spiritual ceremony is not like no big old wedding. You can go down to the courthouse and just make your vows to the God. So if long as you do those two things together, now you are married. What I do not want you to do is miss out on the blessing of being married to save $15,000. All right. I believe, will you have to take a hit right now to join together financially? Absolutely. But think about the great opportunities and the great blessings that will come your way down the road, 2-3 years down the road, because you all are doing it correctly. That $15,000, you all will laugh about it the first year, because then now you may gain $15,000 in the next 2 or 3 years. How old are you, B?
I am 30.
How old is your fiance?
37. And her eldest, if this makes any difference, which it probably doesn't, is 15.
15?
So in 3 years, that makes a big difference.
Yeah. It does make a big difference. And here's the thing. I want y'all to get married. I want you to get married. You know what I'm saying?
And we want to get married too.
Yeah. And I don't want you, do not allow money, Brian, to stop you from living and walking in the right way. And I get it. You want to save that $15,000. I totally understand that. But you guys are already living together. You guys already love each other. Just go ahead and file the paperwork and just do it right. As a Christian guy, you know me, I'm going to speak my Christian faith. I want you to do it right, because I believe if you do it right, the finances will not be a problem, and you never know the doors that will open up in the future for you. You feel me?
Yeah.
Man, I love it. I love it, man. Well, that's our 5 minutes, bro. Thank you so much for calling in and rocking out here on the table. You're my first Zoom in call. So thank you so much for calling in and having a conversation with me, man. But I'm praying for you. Congrats to you and your wife on y'all engagement. I'm praying and believing, Brian, that y'all are going to get married this year. I'm praying and believing that y'all are going to tie that knot this year and have a great time. And then 2 years down the road, I want you to call me and tell me how much money you actually made. All right, bro?
Okay.
All right, cool. Man. Be blessed, man.
Right on.
Peace.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Wow. YouTube. Before we end this show, do you agree with me? Like, should they get married or should they stay single so they can, keep the $15,000? I really want to know your answer. So drop it in the comments below. This was a very unique question, but I stand on what I say. But I also want to know, what does my family say? So drop your thoughts in the comments below. Should they go ahead and get married and work to build those funds back up, or should they just stay single as long as they can to keep their $15,000 a year? All right. Y'all, it's your boy, Anthony O'Neal. Man, thank you so much for rocking with me. I want to thank my producer, Connor Adams, and my entire AO team for making this thing happen. And we're going to see you all next week on the next show. Peace out.